For the first time, the EU, Israel's biggest trading partner, has moved to hit business ties over the war in Gaza. The EU's executive just put forward a plan to partially suspend the EU's free trade deal with Israel. That would hike tariffs on about 40% of the goods that Israel exports to the EU, making them more expensive and therefore less competitive here in Europe. The EU also wants to sanction two far-right Israeli ministers, several settlers linked to violent extremism, and some members of Hamas. But there's absolutely no guarantee these proposals will ever kick in, and they could have been laid out at any point in the war so far. So what's changed? Despite its outspoken criticism of the Israeli government, the EU's executive has been reluctant to suggest sanctions which weren't going to get backing from EU member states, including Germany, hence the broad lack of punitive action so far. But there's been rising pressure to act at an EU level from some EU governments, including Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands and Denmark, and from centrist and left-wing factions in the European Parliament. The EU's top diplomat also told us pressure comes from citizens who are watching a humanitarian catastrophe unfold in Gaza. Germany is really the key holdout when it comes to securing enough backing to hit pause on part of the EU-Israel free trade deal, though Hungary, the Czech Republic and Italy are among other countries which are not in favour. The Israeli government claims any measures against it will strengthen Hamas and has vowed to retaliate if the EU proposals do get adopted. There's at least one EU action which will move forward because it doesn't need backing from EU member states, and that's a plan to pause around 14 million euros worth of EU funding earmarked for cooperation with the Israeli government. But human rights campaigners say this is just far too little too late for Gaza. They say the EU has failed to meaningfully intervene and to use its leverage here.